they invited us on their honeymoon and their wedding. And my son-in-law's parents, we went on their honeymoon with them. They wanted us to. We were like, they said, no, this would mean a lot to us. So we spent 2 weeks in Hawaii, and we'd meet, and whenever they wanted, and they wanted to hang out with us. And to me, that's the greatest sign of success, is that your kids, they want you in their lives deeply. My son's the same way. He wants us deeply involved in his life with his kids. And to me, that's everything. But that's all a way of being. I realized that the shift was when I just broke down and shared with her my own struggle.
So when you're the father that is 40 years old and going to a retreat, wrestling with identity, and your daughter at 14 comes to you wrestling with identity, how do you, when coming back to we all long for the approval of our fathers, how as fathers, right now there's dads listening, how as these dads who are probably listening to this because they're wrestling with their own existence, how do we give that to our children when we're wrestling with it ourselves?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. Actually, there's a problem with the question, if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
The problem is that it's a how question. And the answer is a who, not a how. Right? We get the answers our questions beg or prompt or pull from life. And so I've found, and I'll tell you a story about this because it has to do with my daughter. But, I have 2 kids, and my daughter's 37 and my son is 40. And they have kids of their own. My daughter has two daughters. My son has a son, a daughter, and a baby boy who died in January. And then we've got a child coming any day now. His wife,
yes.
So we're waiting. I mean, it could happen. Due date was yesterday. So we're excited about that. But anyway, I lost myself.
No, it's beautiful. Okay, go.
Yeah. So the how question makes us think about how can I do this to make it turn out? But really it's who am I going to be for you? So normally I ask, and I'm not saying this is universal, I just noticed for me, normally I'm asking a how question because I think that fatherhood is a matter of performance rather than a matter of being with the world and my son, daughter, and family, right? And how I am with them is more instructive than what I do with them. So, I have my daughter's 37. When she was 13 and a half, we lived in Michigan, and we had moved a number of times because I was an itinerant minister. And I had a ministry, and then I had a business that was related to the ministry. We used the same stuff we do in the training room for the ministry for reconciliation and spiritual transformation and development. I use in the corporate world for leadership development. Same frameworks. Just there, I got them, basically derived them from scripture and experience. But I would do that, and I was gone a lot, and I would take the kids with me, and we moved to Michigan, and we had been in Hawaii, and before that we were in Santa Rosa. We planted a church in Hawaii with some people, and then we moved to Michigan to work there, and my daughter was getting involved in a lot of street activity, and my wife, I had an agreement with my wife that if she ever needed me to remain at home, I would come off the road to support the family, and. And surprisingly, in the first 10 years of our ministry, that never happened. Then one day she said, "You got to come home. Danny's taken over the house. I don't know what to do with him. Elizabeth is getting hard to handle." So I came home and I started. I got a job as a salesperson working with a pharmaceutical company, basically selling pharmaceuticals to doctors and so on, that kind of thing. And I'd come home every night, and my son and my daughter are good friends, and she's good friends with his friends, and it was my son's best friend's father's 50th birthday, and we got to know them well and invited him over, and we celebrated his 50th birthday. And after dinner, we were having dessert. My wife and my son went off with his girlfriend to do some homework and hang out with her at the coffee shop. And my daughter stayed home with my son's friend, and they were going to go hang out and upstairs. And my wife gets this premonition that this boy, Derek, is forcing himself on my daughter. And so she goes upstairs and catches him on top of my daughter. Now, you could imagine how awkward that is.
Yes.
50th birthday, she's coming down the stairs. She's got a boy 6 foot tall, and my wife's 5'2", and she's yanking him down the stairs by the ear, and she's livid. And I awkwardly usher people out, call my wife down, go up, talk to my daughter. And I say, well, what's up? Are you all right? What's going on? You want to talk about this? And she basically flipped me off and didn't want to talk. And I just said to her, well, honey, until we talk about this, I'm going to have to be with you no matter what. I'm going to pick you up at school, and there'll be no socializing till I can understand what's going on and I can stand with you. I can't just bestow trust. That would be naive and irresponsible. So she basically told me to pound it. And so first day I pick her up and I go in to say, what do you got for homework? And she looks at me and she says, oh, so this is your effort at being a good father now? And, she's nailing me. She's right. I was in there for me, not her. That's what I mean by being, right? And so I acknowledged that. I said, okay, true. But just because I'm being selfish isn't going to mean I'm going to stop, because there's part of me that's selfish, and there's a larger part of me that cares for you. So I'd rather be found out selfish to get to you than just to be, to get pissed off at you and run out. So I'm not going anywhere. So, and I'm going to learn to work with you. So we worked together and a little bit. She didn't like me. She didn't want to didn't talk. This goes on like cold as ice for a month and a half. And I'm so despairing after a month and a half that I called my friend in California who raised 5 kids, and I loved his family. I asked him, what do I do? And he jokingly had done my training. So he said, I'm not your cult leader, which is a line I use in the training. I don't know. In other words, I'm asking him how, and he's telling me, no, it's not a how. It's who you are. And you're obviously concerned about her, so let her know who she is for you. How about showing up for that? Don't bite her head off. And I hadn't, but he made a lot of sense because I was getting ready to.
Yeah. It was building up.
Yeah. And so another month and a half goes by. And finally, I'm so desperate. This is 3 months. I'm driving her to a dance class in Ann Arbor, and we live about 15 miles away. About halfway there, it's snowing. And this big expedition. She's 4'5", 4'7", tiny little thing, probably 90 pounds and barely fit in a seatbelt. She'd fly right out of there. And I pull over because she's cold as ice, looking out the window. She's not talking to me. So I just pull over and I start weeping. I told her, I said, look, honey, I know I'm not a good dad. I see your face. I see what's going on. I know it's not working. I'm failing you. But I want to tell you something. No matter what happens, I'm never going to leave you. I'm going to follow you. I'll leave my job. I'm going to pursue you. You cannot shake me. I love you more than myself, and I will never give up. And I just started weeping, and she jumps out of the seatbelt into my arms, buries her head in my chest, and says, Pop, I love the way you love me. And now I'm thoroughly confused. I just told her how horrible I'm doing, and she told me, "Look, Dad, Derek didn't. I started. I didn't know how to stop it. It was going too far, and I don't want you to be mad at Derek. I did. I was as much a part of it as him, and it's not Danny and Derek. It's me. I just didn't know how to stop, and I don't want you to send me away." I go, "What do you mean send you away?" And she said, I heard you tell Danny if he didn't stop doing something, you'd send him away. I go, yeah, I'd send him away in a minute. I'm not sending you away. You're staying right there. We laughed. And we stayed. We didn't make dance class, but then I got home and she gave me all of her diaries because she keeps diaries, and she wanted me to read them so I could read the confessions. Whoa. And you really don't want to read your daughter's diaries.
Yeah.
So I read through them, and after that, so here's the thing. I don't have rules in my house like, I have to approve the one you date up, right? Never that way for me. I figured, well, if you're going to, you're going to choose, I'm going to stand with you. But remember, I'm going to stand for you to, walk through it, not just, we're not going to gesture here. If you want my support, So she brought, from that moment on, anything that she was wrestling with, she came to me with. And then she would bring her boyfriends home. She had 3 boyfriends after that. And she married the 3rd some years later, obviously. That was nothing I planned, but she made sure to sit down and have those boys sit down with me and get to know me. And she enrolled them in the training we do. And now she's very deeply involved in our work together, but we live next door to each other. She's really made it, she made sure that her daughters were next to us, and she wanted us in her life deeply. They invited us on their honeymoon and their wedding, and my son-in-law's parents, we went on their honeymoon with them. And they wanted us to. We were like, they said, no, this would mean a lot to us. So we spent 2 weeks in Hawaii, and we'd meet, and whenever they wanted, and they wanted to hang out with us. And to me, that's the greatest sign of success, is that your kids, they want you in their lives deeply. My son's the same way. He wants us deeply involved in his life with his kids. And to me, that's everything. But that's all a way of being. I realized that the shift was when I just broke down and shared with her my own struggle and the demons I was struggling with. And
that vulnerability.
It opened up a ton for her, and for me too. I mean, she got real vulnerable. She told me the truth about what she'd been going through and what she'd been doing.